And also scary, in a world built on image, is how all those headlines, no matter how untrue, are affecting just how the public sees Britney Spears.
Britney Spears is a person who a lot of people are talking about right now for reasons that concern her health, safety, and overall well-being. Britney was of course the pop princess in the 1990s and 2000s and wowed many with her music. But as she kept growing and getting scanned incessantly by the media, her mind broke and she started to lash out. While she did get better, it came at the cost in the form of guardianship that she's now been under for 13 years. So what led to all this? Allow us to show you the 7 times the media failed Britney Spears. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 7. Wendy Williams and her bad take.
He controls her finances. He makes sure that she's getting the treatment she needs for her mental health issues.
There are certain people in the media world that absolutely shouldn't be taken seriously for one reason or another. Not the least of which is because they're known to go and shoot their mouths off and get in people's faces just because it makes them happy. One of these people is Wendy Williams, who has a history of biased takes on people and has no issues with insulting them. So naturally, she's gone after Britney Spears in the past. But wait, that's where the twist comes in. Because after the documentary Framing Britney Spears came out, Wendy Williams had some things to say about it, and not good things. In fact, she went, "I learned nothing new about Britney." What's more, despite there being loads of evidence shown in the documentary that her father was using and abusing the guardianship role to his own means and fortune, he gets a lot of money a year for watching over Britney, and has even petitioned to get more of a cut of her profits. Wendy says that he's a good man, and that she needs a guide over her finances. If this was when the guardianship first happened, after Britney's mental breakdown, that wouldn't be a bad take. But it's been 13 years since it happened, and everyone outside of her family that honestly knows Britney says that she's fine, completely sane, and can take care of herself. This is a classic media element of deferring to established powers, versus going and seeing the truth that is right in front of them. Something that's been very prominent in recent years for sure. 6. Family Feud.
Lizzie, the hair. Lost a lot of hair. There it is.
If you know the game show Family Feud, you know that it's a fun show where contestants are challenged to think of an answer that a group of surveyed people would say to a specific question. Oftentimes the questions are basic, and other times they're about celebrities. Which is the problem in the case of Britney Spears. Because at the time of her mental breakdown, the game show couldn't help but poke fun at her sudden and historic collapse by surveying people with the following question. Name something that Britney Spears has lost in the last year. That alone is a very loaded question that is just begging for the most scandalous answer to be brought forth. Plus, you're asking 100 people to provide answers, and given Britney's reputation at the time, they had no inclination to be kind and hold back. And sure enough, some of the answers were cruel and humiliating. Such as how the number 1 answer was her hair, referring to her bald episode, but the number 2 episode was her mind. This was a double fail because not only was the game show taking advantage of a woman at her lowest point, the host and contestants were seemingly having a lot of fun ribbing Britney. 5. Debating the mental health of Britney in public.
She has chronic psychiatric disorders that are going to need management probably her entire life.
Look at the world we live in right now, and you're going to see some of the things that are honestly a bit sad. Not the least of which is the fact that everyone has an opinion on everything, which is fine, and is more than happy to go and shove their opinion down someone else's throat, because they feel that it's the facts and that nothing else matters, which is bad. This is why social media is a cesspool at times, because various people use the veil of the internet to go and blast people, and things because they don't like it, and condemn others for not agreeing with them. The sad part is that this very much was prevalent during Britney's mental breakdown and the period after it, mainly because various TV doctors went on air and discovered the state of Britney and supported the parents in their decision for guardianship, and even went so far as to try and diagnose what was wrong with Britney. One of the biggest names to do this was Dr. Drew, a TV psychologist, who went into Entertainment Tonight to talk about Britney and know that she had some serious psychological disorders that'll be with her the rest of her life and even need medication for. One problem though, he never met Britney Spears. Rule number 1 of a diagnosis is that you don't make a judgment without meeting the patient. Even he admitted that he was just speculating based on a blog post. Seriously, that's a setup for something like this. A blog post from the early 2010s? And this wasn't a one-off, and it goes to show people were more than happy to talk about Britney, even if they didn't know her at all. 4. Doubting her parental abilities.
This is probably a very pivotal, difficult time for them, especially because now they can get on the Googler and see what their mom is going through.
When someone has a mental condition, regardless of its seriousness, there's always going to be questions about whether they're fit to do certain things. When it came to Britney Spears and her declining mental health, many were curious as to whether she would be able to parenting her children, especially given the stress of her relationship with her then husband, Kevin Federline. This all accumulated in a very awkward and infuriating interview with Matt Lauer. Yeah, that Matt Lauer. in which Lauer went and probed Britney with questions about her parenting ability, to the extent that she was driven to tears by his judgment and the judgment of the other media sites. That's not just sad, it's cruel. Plus, who's Matt Lauer to judge anyone, as we found out? Exactly. But again, this wasn't a one-off. People went actively going and asking whether Britney was fit to be a parent. Fast forward to now via framing Britney Spears, and multiple people close to her, mainly former boyfriends, noted that the thing she loves to do more than anything is a parent. So she seems to be doing just fine in that world. 3. Justin Timberlake.
And I think she's a great person, and I don't know her as well as I did.
When you're a punching bag, especially one that everyone is talking about, it gives certain people the feeling that they deserve to add themselves to that long list of people poking fun at a certain someone. Which brings us to Justin Timberlake. At one point in time, Britney and Justin weren't just a couple, they were two of the biggest names in the music industry. Their dating was a big deal, and then when they later broke up, a lot of people were swayed by the media into thinking it was Britney who was to blame and betrayed Justin. After a mental breakdown, Justin went full tilt and started to rag on her constantly in bits and speeches and SNL performances, even talking about intimate details that we're sure Britney didn't want talked about. The Framing Britney Spears documentary showed how bad Justin was to Britney in various ways, and many fans called for his head as a result. While he did issue an apology for what he had done to Britney, many didn't care for it, and it didn't excuse what he did for years to Britney. 2. The punchline.
Just a few years ago on this very show, she was this like sweet, innocent little girl in slutty clothes.
Meta comedy is something that is to almost be expected in our world nowadays, especially when you consider how many comedy shows need to poke fun at the world today, because it's the best source of content. But before Britney's mental breakdown, that wasn't as relevant as a topic as you would think. But when Britney started to crack, various comedians from all walks of life came out to make fun of her, via sketches with people like Amy Poehler, dressing like Britney and acting like her, to people like Sarah Silverman, going after her in stage bits, and TV shows with comedians dissecting her in famous performances and ripping Britney to shreds. That's not to say meta-style comedy should be banned. That would be foolish to think. But in this instance, they went way too far. 1. Inappropriate questions.
You have yet to enter your senior year of high school. That's a pretty big accomplishment for a little kid.
Do you remember how old Britney Spears when she really broke out in terms of musical fame? That would be 17. And you'd think that the media would go and ask her questions relevant to a 17-year-old pop star. But no, they didn't. Instead, throughout the next few years of her life, they went on constantly about a certain kind of symbol she was being portrayed as in various relationship questions. That was not only inappropriate, it was rude and downright misogynistic. Especially when various hosts referenced how Britney didn't like these questions, and yet asked them of her anyway. What is she supposed to do there? Especially with the perception put on women that if they refuse to answer a simple question, they are stated to be angry or combative. The media abused Britney Spears and broke her, and now more than ever there's a need to #Free Britney. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the times when the media absolutely failed Britney Spears and slowly pushed her to the brink that she's trying to recover from in certain ways? Which times shown make you the most furious in terms of how the media treated Britney? Do you think that they are the main factors in why Britney cracked like she did? Do you hope she's freed from her guardianship soon? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.